While the world often highlights luxury prisons designed for the wealthy and elite, where amenities rival those of five-star hotels, there exists a stark contrast within the grim walls of women's prisons. Are you ready to uncover the terrifying truths hidden within the walls of these notorious facilities? In this expose, we delve into the 10 most ruthless women's prisons, notorious for their inhumane conditions and chilling atmosphere that even the most hardened criminals fear. 10. Lowell Prison, Florida, USA. One of the largest female prisons in the United States, Lowell Correctional Institution is located in Marion County, Florida. The prison, which was Florida's first female prison, opened in 1956 and has housed some of the scariest prisoners in the whole country. That's right, from romantic rival killer Rachel Wade to kidnapper and murderer Tiffany Cole, it is Sheila the Peeler who comes out on top as the most frightening inmate of all time. Serving life without parole for the slaying of 2 men, Sheila the Peeler received the nickname due to the terrifying ways in which she would torture her victims, who she later claimed were pedophiles. And if that wasn't enough, the prison recently had a tuberculosis outbreak, resulting in 7 confirmed cases and no clue into how the disease managed to find its way into the prison. Then, in 2014, female inmate Latandra Ellington died suspiciously after writing a letter to a friend detailing the abuse she had been receiving from who she called Sergeant Q. Not a prison you want to get stuck in, that's for sure. 9. Holsmore Prison, Cape Town, South Africa. Notorious Hellhole Polesmore Prison is one of the scariest and toughest maximum security prisons in the whole world. Housing both male and female inmates, the prison's most famous resident was one Nelson Mandela, who described Polesmore as the truth of Oscar Wilde's haunting line about the tent of blue that prisoners call the sky. But what of its most famous female inmate, nicknamed the Scissor Murderess for reasons you can only imagine? 18-year-old Marlene Leenberg was convicted of stabbing Susanna Magdalena van der Linde, the wife of her 47-year-old lover, Christian van der Linde. The youngest woman to be convicted of murder in South Africa, Leenberg was immediately sentenced to death, only to have it later reduced to a life sentence. Yikes! 8. Heilongjiang Women's Prison, Heilongjiang, China. Residing in the northern province of Heilongjiang, China, Heilongjiang Women's Prison is renowned for its tough stance on wayward prisoners. However, the prison was in the news recently when a Chinese woman revealed that she had withstood severe abuse and torture for nearly 3 years. Said to have received the torture due to her faith, the woman claimed that she was regularly handcuffed from behind, held in isolation, and beaten by prison guards and other inmates. The prisoner also claimed that guards were so desperate to make her renounce her faith that they would do so by any means possible. However, that was the least of her worries when it was revealed that the prison had also been investigated for illegal organ harvesting, when prisoners complained of having their blood taken from them without consent. 7. Indiana Women's Prison, Indiana, USA. First established in 1873, the Indiana Women's Prison was the first adult female correctional facility in the country. Known for its high number of inmates who require special attention, the prison has a high number of mentally ill, disabled, pregnant, and elderly inmates. With the prison evolving on a yearly basis, the population increased to a whopping 600 prisoners in 2015. However, although holding Indiana's only death row for women, it currently has no death row inmates, but has had its fair share of high-profile criminals. That's right. With husband killer Clara Green Gibson Carl and escapee Sarah Jo Pender, known to have walked the prison walls, it was Gertrude Banaszewski who generated the most headlines after torturing and taking the life of 16-year-old Sylvia Likens in the late 60s, a case which was called the single worst crime perpetrated against an individual in Indiana's history. 6. Kon Concentration Camp, Kaechon City, North Korea. Let's face it, a prison camp in North Korea is never going to be good. Located in Kaechon County, Pyongan-namdo Province in North Korea, Kaechon Concentration Camp sits behind a small hill east of the city center. One of the largest in the country, the prison is around 1,000 feet long and is surrounded by a high wall covered with sharp and deadly barbed wire. Holding both men and women, the inmates are mostly political prisoners. However, there are a small number of everyday common criminals. Known for its extremely long sentences and harsh conditions, prisoners are unlikely to leave the prison camp alive. In fact, one female prisoner who did make it out alive told reporters that around 20% of the prisoners died during her stay of just 2 years. 5. Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women, Alabama, USA. Julia Tutwiler Prison once stood as a symbol of prison reform, but years of neglect have turned it into a place of horrors. Staff misconduct is rampant, with numerous reports of sexual abuse and violence against inmates. Living conditions are appalling, with women often forced to sleep in overcrowded cells, where basic needs like clean water and health care are scarce. The psychological toll of constant abuse and neglect has driven many inmates to the brink of madness, and fatalities are not uncommon in a facility where human dignity is routinely stripped away. Located in the darkest depths of the southern state of Alabama, Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women was originally known as the Wetumpka State Penitentiary. However, in 1942, the prison was renamed after the renowned prison advocate Julia Tutwiler, who campaigned for prison reforms throughout her life. Nicknamed the Angel of the Stockades, Tutwiler advocated for better living conditions and the abolishment of the death penalty for women. However, despite her best efforts, conditions at the prison have deteriorated over the years. Although prison officials have tried to implement programs aimed at rehabilitation and reintegration into society, many inmates still face significant barriers upon release. 4. Grand Valley Institution, Ontario, Canada. Located in Kitchener, Ontario, this Canadian prison is the only one of its kind in the whole of Ontario. That's Canada for you. However, although it may be located in the wondrous environment of good old Canada, it is still scary as hell. In fact, the prison is mostly famed for the death of 19-year-old inmate Ashley Smith, which caused a gigantic legal inquest and much controversy throughout the world. Known for her unruly behavior, Ashley was often moved to a number of different institutions. However, in 2007, Ashley was videotaped strangling herself with a piece of cloth while locked up in one of the notorious Grand Valley solitary cells. Despite being watched by guards, it took a further 45 minutes for anyone to intervene. 2 documentaries have been made referring to the incident, both of which discuss the prison's role in her untimely death. The case of Ashley Smith is a chilling reminder of how badly the prison system can fail vulnerable inmates. Ashley, a young woman with severe mental health issues, died after being neglected and mistreated by staff in a Canadian facility. Her death raised harrowing questions about the care of mentally ill prisoners, as she spent years cycling through isolation cells, constantly monitored but never properly treated. Her tragic end exposed the cold indifference of a system meant to rehabilitate, but instead broke her spirit beyond repair. 3. La Mesa Prison, Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. Located near the Mexico-United States border, La Mesa Prison is renowned for its tough women, harsh conditions, and extremely common riots. With the most famous riots coming in the year 2008, the prison had 2 deadly riots within days of each other. The first, which began on September 13th, ended with the death of 3 inmates after prisoners got angry at the death of another inmate. Then, only a few days later, the second riot began, causing a death count of a whopping 19 inmates after they were denied water due to the riot before. However, the prison is also associated with Catholic nun sister Antonia Brenner, who was nicknamed La Mama, or the Prison Angel. Brenner lived in the prison voluntarily for over 30 years and was often pictured caring and cooking for the female inmates. Women live in cramped cells with unsanitary conditions, often without access to running water. Healthcare is almost non-existent, and diseases like tuberculosis and HIV are widespread. Many women are forced to join prison gangs for protection, further escalating the violence within. 2. Tihar Jail, Delhi, India. Tihar Jail, the largest prison complex in South Asia, is infamous for its poor living conditions and rampant corruption. The female section of the prison is severely overcrowded, with women living in squalid conditions. The prison lacks basic hygiene facilities, and medical care is grossly inadequate. Women are often subjected to abuse by both staff and fellow inmates, with little recourse to justice. Inmates are forced to endure extreme temperatures in overcrowded cells, with no access to proper bedding or clothing. Malnutrition is common, as food supplies are often stolen or diverted. Medical neglect has led to the deaths of many inmates, with tuberculosis and other diseases spreading unchecked. Insane Prison, Yangon, Myanmar. Insane Prison is notorious for its political prisoners, but the women incarcerated here endure extreme hardships as well. Known for its torture chambers, overcrowding, and lack of basic human rights, Insane is a place of total deprivation. Women in this prison are subjected to inhumane treatment, forced into cramped, filthy cells, and denied access to proper food, water, or medical care. Guards routinely use torture and other forms of abuse to control inmates, often leaving them permanently scarred. Women are forced into hard labor, often without sufficient food or rest, leaving them physically broken. Solitary confinement is used as a punishment, with prisoners left in dark, cramped cells for days or weeks on end. The prison is known for its brutal interrogations, where inmates are tortured for information or simply to instill fear. Diseases like tuberculosis and malnutrition are rampant, and the lack of medical care ensures that many women do not survive their sentences. These facilities, shrouded in secrecy and suffering, are a stark reminder that justice often fails those it is meant to protect. The chilling accounts of abuse, neglect, and despair are not just statistics. They are the cries of women trapped in a relentless cycle of violence. So, what can be done to shine a light on these dark corners of our society? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more eye-opening adventure tales that exposes the realities we often choose to ignore.